Let's go Broncos! One of the biggest debates in Broncos country right now isn't about the quarterback, the wide receivers, or even the defense. It's about a player who has become one of the most talked about names on the roster over the last few weeks. J.K. Dobbins is making headlines again, and this time it's because of a bold promise that has fans excited, analysts debating, and the entire Broncos fan base wondering if 2026 could finally be the year everything comes together for him. What's even more interesting is that new details have emerged about how close Dobbins came to leaving Denver. In fact, reports suggest he was extremely close to joining another team before Sean Payton stepped in and changed everything. The Broncos clearly had a decision to make, and what happened next could have a massive impact on the entire offense this season. But before we continue, make sure you've already hit the like button if you're a true Denver Broncos fan. Let's see how many optimistic Broncos fans are watching today. And if you believe this team is ready to take another step forward, comment right now. Go Broncos! 2026 is our year. Now let's get straight into the biggest story. According to recent reports, J.K. Dobbins was extremely close to signing elsewhere during free agency. There were even claims that a deal was essentially in place before Sean Payton personally made it clear that bringing Dobbins back to Denver was a priority. And when Dobbins recently spoke about the situation, his comments revealed just how important that relationship with Payton was. According to Dobbins, he and Coach Payton had discussions before free agency officially opened. He described Payton as my guy and explained that the coach came and got him before the 2-year deal was finalized. That alone tells you how much confidence Denver still has in him. Because despite all the discussions surrounding the running back room, despite the additions of younger talent, despite concerns some fans have raised over the years, the Broncos still wanted J.K. Dobbins back. And the reason isn't difficult to understand. When Dobbins is healthy, he produces. The numbers discussed paint a very impressive picture. Before suffering his season-ending injury last year, Dobbins was averaging 5 yards per carry, ranking among the league's most productive running backs. He ranked highly in explosive run rate, avoided tackle percentage, and yards after contact. Even though he appeared in only 10 games, he still managed 772 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns while maintaining elite efficiency. That's why the Broncos continue believing in him. The talent has never been the issue. The discussion has always centered around availability, and Dobbins addressed that directly. In what may become one of the most talked about quotes of the offseason, he made a very bold statement about the upcoming season. This is going to be the best year. All 17 games. That is not a cautious prediction. That is not a measured response. That is confidence. And Dobbins didn't stop there. He openly discussed his injury history, explaining that while he understands what people say, he believes he knows the truth about his situation and is working every single day to prove it. He went even further by promising that this would be the best season of his career. Those comments are exactly the type of statements that energize a fan base. Because if Dobbins can stay healthy for an entire season, the ceiling for this offense becomes very interesting. However, the Broncos also appear determined not to put all the pressure on him. And that's where another major storyline begins. Jonah Coleman. The discussion repeatedly pointed toward Coleman as an important piece of Denver's plan moving forward. While Dobbins remains the lead back, there is a growing belief that the Broncos want to reduce some of the workload that has historically been placed on him. The idea is simple. Keep Dobbins fresh, keep him explosive, and avoid putting unnecessary wear and tear on his body over the course of a long season. According to the projections discussed, Dobbins could see roughly half of the offensive snaps while Coleman and R.J. Harvey rotate heavily alongside him. And honestly, Broncos country, that strategy makes a lot of sense. Because this isn't simply about finding another running back. It's about building an entire rushing attack that complements itself. Dobbins brings explosiveness. Coleman brings toughness, balance, and physical running between the tackles. R.J. Harvey brings a different dimension as a playmaker in space and as a receiving threat. Each player offers something different, and together they could give Denver one of the deepest running back groups in football. What makes Coleman particularly intriguing is his ability to fight for extra yards. Statistics discussed showed how effective he was after contact throughout his college career, which is exactly the type of trait coaches love when trying to control games late in the season. Meanwhile, R.J. Harvey continues to be viewed as a critical weapon within the offense. The discussion compared aspects of Harvey's game to DeAndre Swift, particularly when examining his skill set, size profile, and ability to operate within zone concepts. And when you start putting all of these pieces together, a very interesting picture begins to emerge. The Broncos are not building their offense around a single running back. They're building a complete rushing attack, one that can rotate fresh legs, one that can attack defenses in different ways, and one that can potentially help unlock the rest of the offense. Because as the discussion emphasized, everything starts with the run game. If the Broncos can consistently establish the run, it creates opportunities for every other weapon on the roster. And if J.K. Dobbins truly delivers on his promise and plays all 17 games while maintaining the efficiency he showed before his injury, Denver's offense could look dramatically different this season. The talent is there. The confidence is there. The motivation is clearly there. Now the only question is whether the results will follow. And Broncos country, that's where I want to leave you today. One thing that keeps standing out throughout this entire conversation is how confident J.K. Dobbins sounds heading into the season. And confidence matters, especially at a position where every touch comes with risk and every game tests your durability. But confidence alone isn't what has Broncos fans paying attention. It's the fact that Dobbins seems fully aware of the questions surrounding him and is embracing them head on. He knows people talk about the injuries. He knows people wonder whether he can hold up for an entire season. He knows there are skeptics. Yet instead of avoiding those conversations, he directly addressed them and essentially challenged the narrative that has followed him throughout his career. That's what makes this upcoming season so fascinating, because there are really two possible outcomes. The first scenario is exactly what Dobbins is promising. He stays healthy. He plays all 17 games. He maintains the efficiency that made him one of the league's most productive runners before his injury. And suddenly the Broncos have one of the best values at the running back position in football. If that happens, Denver's offense becomes significantly more dangerous. Defenses would be forced to respect the run on every down. Play action opportunities increase. The passing game becomes more efficient, and the entire offense operates with better balance. But there's another layer to this story that Broncos fans should not overlook. The Broncos aren't simply hoping Dobbins stays healthy. They're actively building safeguards around him. And that's where Jonah Coleman becomes so important. The more you examine the Broncos' offseason decisions, the more it becomes clear that Coleman wasn't just drafted for the future. He was drafted to help right now. The discussion repeatedly emphasized that Coleman can do many of the things coaches want from a complete running back. He can run between the tackles. He can fight through contact. He can protect the quarterback. He can catch passes. And most importantly, he can help reduce the physical burden placed on Dobbins throughout the season. That's a critical detail, because if the Broncos truly want Dobbins available in December and January, they cannot treat him like a player who needs 20 carries every single week. The workload has to be managed intelligently, and Coleman appears to be one of the key pieces that allows Denver to do exactly that. What's interesting is that the running back room now feels much more complete than it did a year ago. You have Dobbins bringing explosiveness and experience. You have Coleman bringing physicality and reliability. And you have R.J. Harvey bringing versatility and playmaking ability. Each player serves a different purpose. Each player stresses defenses in different ways, and that variety may end up becoming one of the biggest strengths of the entire offense. The discussion even explored how Denver could maximize these different skill sets through zone running concepts. Why is that important? Because great running games aren't built solely on talent. They're built on fit, finding concepts that allow players to do what they do best, finding ways to create favorable situations, finding ways to force defenses into difficult decisions. And if Denver successfully combines Dobbins' explosiveness, Coleman's toughness, and Harvey's versatility, opposing defenses could find themselves dealing with a completely different challenge every time a new running back enters the game. That's exactly what makes this backfield so intriguing. Not one superstar carrying the entire load. Not one player doing everything, but multiple players complementing one another. And honestly, that may be exactly what Sean Payton wants, because the deeper a season goes, the more valuable fresh legs become. The more injuries accumulate around the league, the more important depth becomes. And Denver suddenly appears to have a lot of it at running back. Now imagine this scenario. J.K. Dobbins delivers on his promise. Jonah Coleman develops quickly. R.J. Harvey takes another step forward. Suddenly the Broncos aren't just talking about having a good rushing attack. They're talking about having one of the most balanced defensive units in football. And balance changes everything. It keeps defenses guessing. It opens opportunities elsewhere. It creates consistency. And consistency wins football games. That is why this storyline matters so much. Because while many fans are understandably